What's up, guys? In the garage. I just fired up the ironhead again. Been struggling on that, so it's been running for probably 2 minutes off choke. I got the idle screw 2.5 turns out, which is way too far. Oh, closer to 3 turns out. Probably 3 turns. But I'm just trying to get some heat in it, see what it does. It's leaned over pretty good, which is going to affect it a little bit. If we jump on and sit it upright, it comes up a little bit more, so we're going to have to address that at some point. But that's choke off. I will say I do like how low you can set Mikuni carburetors. Nice, low, thumpy idle. But that's kind of where we're at. I'm going to let this run for another minute or 2, and then I'll explain what we're doing. Forgot to rev it up for you. A little backfire. If I jump into it, it's a Mikuni, fully mechanical, no accelerator pump, but gonna let this run until it runs out of gas, because we have some carb work to do, so I might as well drain the bowl. Lots of tools scattered all around the shop still. And to the guy that commented on this, I have a lift table. Yes, it turns into storage, which I hate, but that bike's too long to fit on the lift unless I call a buddy over to hold it upright while I try and finagle the front clamp and the scissor jack on that. The axle of that bike sticks out about here. I could do an extension, but I like my garage space, and honestly, when it's this long and it's top end stuff, I don't mind doing it on the ground. Any of these are always up there. I mean, we got this bike fired up on the lift too. But when I keep moving things back and forth by myself, it's kind of a pain in the ass to try and get them set, and then set the jack to hold that back end off the ground. Just died out on the float bowl, so we drained all the gas out of here. Here's kind of where we're at. It is running, it is idling. We are out. Let's give this a count real quick on the carb. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but right now we're vertical, just shy. Half, 1, half, 2. So we were 2 turns out there, so that's about seated. 1 3/4 turn out. I brought it in a little bit while it was running. For this, when you go to tune a carb, 1, you need the motor warm. 2, you need the choke off. Set the idle, I don't know, 10, 15, 20% higher than it usually is, and do little half-turn adjustments, and then wait a second. And if the idle picks up speed or picks up RPM, that means it wants more of whatever you're doing. On a Mikuni, it is different than on a CV or an SNS, because this is an air bleed. So this restricts the air. Which hole is it? There's the starter up top. I think it's this one here. That mixture screw. Oh crap, I just turned the wrong one. That's being dumb, huh? That doesn't matter. Let's pull that back out. This is what happens. I'm looking through the camera instead of actually thinking about what I'm doing. 1, half, 2. Was it that one? Yeah. Half, 1, half, 3/4. 2. That doesn't matter. We can adjust the idle speed later. This is your idle mix, so let's see where this one's at. The proper one, you got your idle speed, which basically is a bullet-ended, here, I'll just show you. It's a bullet end on the end of this rounded head that slides into the actual side of the slide. There's a notch in the slide that's cut on a taper like this. So as you thread this in, that bullet end pushes the slide up and forces the slide to open. So that's what you're looking at on your mixture screw. Not too complicated, but the more I push this in, so I'll leave this right here while I turn this in, and eventually, hopefully there's enough light. It's kind of shiny in there. Now I'm starting to touch the slide. As we crank this up, it's micro adjustments. You don't need a ton here, but that slide moves a good amount. So right there, it's just starting to open, so we'll leave it right there. The mixture screw right here is your actual air bleed. So this is the one that I'm talking about. If we go half, 1, half, 2, 2.5, so we're 2.5 turns out. It's a little on the far side for me. And on a Mikuni, that is adjusting air. So the farther in it goes, the more air it's blocking off, which richens up the mixture. So in on that mixture screw is the opposite of what it would be on an S&S or most other carburetors, because this bleed is on the outside of the slide. This is affecting an air bleed. It's not a fuel bleed. If it's down here, like on a CV, they're down in here. In is blocking fuel. There's no fuel that goes through this passage. This is just air. So think about it that way. If it's just an air passage, the farther out it is, the more open it is, which puts more air into the motor, which leans out the mixture. So on this, we were pretty far out, like almost 3 turns out. Let me throw you up here on the tripod real quick and show you what I'm trying to get at. These spark plugs. I couldn't get this thing to fire up the other day. And I kept messing with it. And I took a brand new set of plugs that are not in good shape, brand new out of the box, and put a brand new set of plugs in there, and it fired up first kick. So I'll drop these. They're gonna be nice and toasty now. See what these look like. Let's see. This has been running for probably 5 minutes, so not too long at all in the grander scheme of things. I got an old set of auto lights on the ground that you guys can probably see here, but here's our champions. This is right out of a motor that's got 5 minutes of runtime. These were not brand new plugs, but I did take a torch to these. So these were covered in black. And if you, instead of buying brand new plugs, grab your MAP gas torch, sit there torching these, and they turn back to white like magic. So here's the set, the brand new set that I put in. Right out of the box. Way to go, champion. I was missing half the porcelain, or a third of the porcelain there. That was brand new out of the box, and the rest of that wasn't in the box, so it's not like it broke. But these plugs looked just like the ones I just yanked out of the motor. So they're very black. Come on, focus. Focus for me. They're pretty dark. Especially for 6 minutes of runtime. Now, I know that's not really inaccurate. We're just trying to set the idle right now. But there's one. Let's see what the front one looks like. This one's actually a little bit better in terms of coloring. It's black. It's definitely soot covered. But this one, you can actually still see some of the white porcelain. A lot of that will probably burn off once you actually start riding. But for an idle, if it's doing that on idle, like for 5 minutes of runtime, that needs to be addressed. So, like I said, we're about 3 turns out on the mixture screw, which tells me anything past 3, the spring that's underneath that mixture screw won't retain that jet, so it'll just be floating. It'll probably rattle out completely and ruin your day on the road. Which means that this needs to go down on the pilot jet in the carb. So the pilot jet is your idle circuit. And Mikunis are kind of goofy. You have a starting circuit, which when I click this on, the choke, if you will, it's not really a choke. It just allows a fuel mix from this side hole over here on this side of the carburetor to get sucked through behind the slide. So it basically richens up the mixture by pulling a separate thing of fuel. So it's really a starting circuit, or an enriching, not even it's a starting circuit. So that is a designated fuel source for kicking it over, which is why on Mikunis you don't want the throttle open. If you open the throttle, you're pulling away from the vacuum signal that's getting drawn through the carburetor, And the whole point of that enrichener circuit is not to touch the throttle, and it runs on that very minimal bit of vacuum when that slide is down. As for the spark plugs, they're rich. We're running a 30 pilot jet, so I have a bunch of stuff on order. Some of it's been showing up. We got a jet kit for the mains, and it's thirsty for fuel, in my opinion. This does not have the normal Mikuni VM-9 that would have been on most of the ironheads. In terms of the needle, it's a different needle than what would have come in that, from the branch setups at least. It's a different needle than what would have come in it, and the needle jet. So you have your needle, which has the clips that are adjustable up and down. Put the clip farther down, it raises the needle, which allows more fuel. Put the needle up, pushes the needle farther down, and less fuel comes in that transition circuit. And then for the needle jet itself, that is also, or the atomizer, is not the right one. So I have all of those parts on order, probably Thursday or Friday. We should have them by the weekend. I have the main jets. I'm pretty sure I got the Q2 tube, the needle jet. Still waiting on or maybe the needle showed up today. I don't really remember. But we're gonna go hardcore on trying to dial this carb in, and I'll try my best to explain the circuits. I'm not an expert, but I've been around carburetors enough to know where they need to be happy. On a Harley carb, CV has an accelerator pump. I love CV carbs. I keep getting that in the comments all the time. This is my main bike, CV carb. Chinese knockoff Amazon one, but Harley guts. The shovel head's got a CV on it, and then I have an S&S on the bagger. I didn't feel right putting a CV on there, even though I would prefer having a CV on there, but it came with an S&S, and with the rest of the chrome and all the dress-up stuff on there, it just made sense to keep an S&S teardrop. And the guy that had it before me, when he got the tins painted, also painted the letters in there, so it's kind of a matching set. And it's, you know, your old FLH. That to me makes sense with an S&S carb on it. I have no problems with them, but I have not spent a ton of time fine-tuning them because I like the diaphragm of the CV. It's kind of bringing in modern technology into older equipment, but it works really well. It's like putting an HEI or a fuel injection in your old hot rod. I don't do it, but some people do and they swear by it. So that's kind of where we're at. 6 minutes of running, plugs turn black, so we got to downjet the idle circuit, and I think we actually need to upjet the main and the transition circuit. I don't know, this is kind of a scatterbrained video in the sense of I'm going over what I need to do, but yesterday we got snow, not a whole lot. Got some snow. It is a whopping 20 degrees right now, so I don't know. I think they're calling for like high 40s at the end of this week. So my goal is basically just to have it running and driving so I can take it around the block a couple times and make sure that I can get it dialed. I'm hoping that the jets come in before the nice weather comes back. And by nice, it's pleasant. You know, I don't know where you guys are at, but in the Midwest, 40s is not warm to ride in. I'll do 40 all day. Not regularly daily riding anymore, but I'm past that point. I did that on the chopper. I would show up to house showings on that chopper in the snow, 30, 28, 30, but it was a fresh motor, fresh bike, and a younger version of myself. So that's kind of where we're at with this one. Lots more carb work to do. I still have the whole scattered pile of tools. Hopefully I didn't absolutely ruin anybody's day by breaking lifters and taking things apart the wrong way and doing everything the way I'm not supposed to do it. I was hesitant on posting that video when it happened, but then I had the self-check. I'm gonna post all of my screw-ups on this channel. So if you're here for expertise, go elsewhere. There's many more people much smarter than I am on things like this. I've been messing around enough where I'm comfortable talking about them, but also will comfortably tell you what I did right and what I did wrong. So I think that's where we're gonna leave it for now. I gotta clean up this mess again. We finally had the garage super clean, bought more tools that need to go to the shop, get some of these boxes out of here, and then have an exploded pile of the other Sportster motor that are kind of out that I've been stealing parts for this, like the lifter and the tappet block. And we'll get this cleaned up a little bit when we come back. we'll be messing around with the carb again. I'll go through exactly what's on there. I think I covered the internal guts of this already in one of the previous videos, but we'll go through the parts that I'm putting in based on everything I found on the internet, so hopefully the internet's right. If you have firsthand experience and want to correct me on any of the information that I got, please do. I love learning from you guys. A lot of the comments that you guys have put out there have been extremely useful, or those things that I kind of notice after the fact. And then I have to double check and rethink about what I just did, because there's better ways to do things. So I'm learning a ton from you guys. Hopefully you guys are learning something from me, or looking at what I do wrong and knowing not to do that. If you take that home with you, I'm happy. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.